Okay, Grand Rising, everyone. This is Ron. It is Sunday, February 8th, a little after 11 a.m. And excuse me, I want to say that right. Sunday, February 8th, 2026. Okay, a little after 11 a.m. And we'll get started and see if we have any questions on what we talked about yesterday. On yesterday, we were in Second Chronicles chapter 7, and we were focusing on verse 14. And my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and hear from heaven will forgive their sins and will heal their land. That was the focal point that Pastor took us to yesterday, and we got into a discussion over that. Uh, this is Solomon talking here, Solomon being the son of King David, and David was not allowed to build this so-called house for God, for the name of God. And we broke that down and looked at it and recognizing that you are the house, you are what this is addressing here, and all of these uh, sort of prerequisites that it talks about. If my people who are called by my name, by my character, will humble themselves, and we talked about the importance of humility, and pray or meditation, and will seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. Pastor broke all that down yesterday, and maybe if we have time, if we see where our questions go. My question was, and I forgot about this because we went in several other different directions. Because we talked about, I think Audrey brought up that when we talked about this thing being revealed to us, this enlightenment and this coming together of self, uh, this has always been there, and it was something that was intended from the very beginning, and we are just opening it up and seeing it. But it wasn't anything new. But the thing that caught my attention when we discussed this, and I wrote this down, because we talked about turning from your wicked ways, and Pastor talked about being able to forgive yourself. And my question is, forgiving yourself, how important that is. Are you able to see enlightenment if you are unable to forgive yourself? Does this is that part of the turning from the wicked ways, and the healing? Is the land ever healed? Is the consciousness ever renewed or revealed to you if that does not take place? But that's just anybody else. Is there anything from yesterday that jumped out at you that you want to bring up that I may have missed?
Ron, this is Evelyn, Grand Rising family, in honor to the ancestors. I looked up what Solomon means, and it says that Solomon meant that it's the center on the divine wisdom, peace, and the duality of human nature, representing a peaceful ruler.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you for bringing that up, because Pastor brought that up on yesterday and I forgot to mention that. Thank you. What was David again, Pastor? You on mute.
Beloved.
Beloved. Okay. So if you look at the history of this, is the son of beloved, of the offspring of beloved, being the peace. And that just kind of, and again, this is us. This describes the human, the divineness of the human, and he who seeks this path. So does that make sense? Or does that resonate? Excuse me.
It does. And
But
It
thank you.
does, yes.
I want to expand on what Evelyn raised in a few moments.
Okay.
But first, we want to look at the question that you had about forgiving yourself. You can't bring balance if you're not balanced yourself. And if you are wrestling with entanglements that you have not forgiven yourself for, then you can get glimpses of enlightenment, of truth, and the entanglements that you're still wrestling with will keep coming up to you in different ways, which is saying that this is something you need to do shadow work to deal with. So it's not impossible to have flashes of truth before you have forgiven yourself. The flashes of truth is the mirror that shows you what needs to be dealt with. However, forgiving yourself opens the gateway for you to truly forgive others. Forgiving yourself also puts you on a pathway where you are not distracted by your entanglements, puts you on a pathway that leads you to an enlightened understanding of what truth is. And even if you are not the one to see it, you are on a pathway to encounter others who are teaching or understanding what truth is. So this group did not come together haphazardly. Desires for truth and understanding is what is the magnet that drew us together, and is still doing it.
Yeah.
So, any questions or comments about that? Evelyn, would you restate your question, please?
Yes, sir. And I want to comment on what you just saying, that we are a magnet, because I remember when we all were searching, it was like something was just pulling us to the southeast side. And I know everything has symbols, but when Foundational Faith met, it was, I guess, the beginning was the southeast side in Bessie's home. So, yeah, we were all searching, and it did lead us here. But anyway, I just wanted to make that mention. I just wanted to mention that. But I had said, I looked up the word Solomon, what does Solomon mean? And it says, the spiritual meaning of Solomon centers on divine wisdom, peace, and the duality of human nature, representing a peaceful ruler, from Hebrew, shalom, and a friend of God. He symbolizes the pursuit of God, giving understanding, the construction of the sacred temple, and the spiritual consequences of worldly, idolatrous disobedience. I'm done.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The words David, and Shalom, or Solomon, are not talking about people. It's not talking about a man whose seed brought into the earth a son named Solomon. This is speaking to us today. And what it's saying to us today is that we have tried every avenue to bring about our deliverance from the shackles, both visible and invisible, of the shackles that have kept us blind to who we are. It also is saying to us that using the tactics that were given to us by the ones who are the enslavers will not free us. It simply gives us an illusion of freedom while the enslavement deepens. It also says that we have tried the tactics of physicality, or at the very least, have considered an all-out revolution battle against the oppressors. And none of those worked. So what does this have to do with David and Solomon? When it says that David means beloved, or the one who I love, is speaking to us in that it's saying, I love you. But the tactics that you have engendered to bring deliverance to you and others are the wrong tactics. You cannot build the house with blood on your hands. The life of the human is in the blood. And the blood of the human came from you. So the physical approach, even the legislative approach to bring freedom, deliverance to you and others is not the way to get it done. And because of your desires to do it your way, you will not be able to build a house. What am I saying? Until you come to grips with all of the methods that you have considered that will bring harm to others, or bring harm to you, or bring harm to those who were birthed by you. Until you come to grips with that and understand who you are, you will not be able to construct a house that is pleasing to the to the self-existent one. And in order for you to build a house that's pleasing to the self-existent one, the Lord Jehovah, you have to change who you are. You have to die to who you are. A clear example to me is, and I talk about me, not you. Hold 1 second, please. Let me do this. A clear example for me, anyway, is when I look at me, James Richard. The scripture saying to me, you have tried the approach of boycotts when you were a kid. I was like 9, 10 years old when I first started boycotting. You have done that. You have protested, and you moved from that to your desire to enter a revolution, a shooting war, if that was necessary. And you had no compassion, no problem, rather, with taking a life if you had to. You were caught up in Pan-African nationalism, and you hated Europeans with a passion. And that is not the way to bring balance, or to even deliver yourself from this oppressive system that you live in. So you will not be able to build a house that is pleasing to me, says the self-existent one, until you die to those tactics, meaning that die to self. Die to who you see yourself as. And when we talk about Solomon, what it's saying is that in order for you to build a house that's pleasing to the self-existing one, you will die to self and be reborn in the image of peace. And when you abandon those tactics, you will be led down a pathway that will bring you into the presence of peace. And talking about me, having gone through the the pastoring on a pastoring journey in the church, only to find out that was not truth, but it was a beginning. It was the first step towards building a house of peace, and seeing that there are truths in the scriptures, yet you don't understand them. So now here we are. We are beyond the scriptures in terms of what we were told they meant. And now it is time to build the house. And the house is being constructed with a strong foundation. The foundation of the house is the rejection of religion. And once religion has been rejected, now the house can be structured. And in structuring the house, there will be many rooms in it. There will be truths in it that you never dreamed of. And as the house is being constructed because you seek peace. You do not seek to destroy anyone. You don't hate anyone. Your desires to enter a war or enter a revolution has been abated. It's no longer there. You've died to that. You understand that legislatively you will not see a change. It's simply going to frustrate you. It's going to keep you in a low-grade anger. You see that now. So you continue to move forward in terms of embracing the light that you are being shown, and not only embracing the truth that you're understanding, but also sharing it with other people, laying a strong foundation and building upon it, because you understand that the only way to free you and others is peace. And this idea, this concept of balance and this concept of harmony is predicated on peace. It is impossible to be in harmony with each other if you don't have peace. In order for this to extend to all of those who exited the womb of the Babylonian woman, you first must have peace within you. And when you have peace within you, and you begin to share what you're being shown with others, that also brings them to a state of peace. And during this state of peace, you begin to be shown what needs to be changed. And as you see what needs to be changed, you begin to do even more shadow work within yourself, and others follow suit. And in doing this shadow work within yourself, you begin to see those things that are being exposed. At the onset, they appear to be chaotic. And it appears that we are retrogressing to a time when there was indeed physical change. However, because you are standing on a solid foundation, because you have died to self, now you are beginning to see who you are. And because you are beginning to see who you are, you understand that this chaos is not a retrogression at all. This chaos is um, it is an uncovering of what has been hidden from the inception of Europeans' interaction with people of Africa of a Cabelonian descent. And when you begin to see that, that is when not only do you see the change that you have made, but you also begin to see what is to come out of this chaos. You begin to understand that one man, Donald Trump, is not the problem. Neither is he the symbol of the issues. He is the face of what has always been. You begin to understand when people say, that's not who we are. This is not what America is. It begins to nauseate you because you understand that America has always been what it is right now and worse. So because of the peace that you have embraced, because of the peace that you are, you don't seek retribution. What you seek is change. And whatever retribution comes, it is not at your hands. It is from the hand of this self-existent one. It is from the hand of the universe itself. All you do is continue your journey to truth and continue to teach it. You continue to put it in the macro. And as you do that, it seems as though it is beginning to be more chaotic. And those who don't know who they are, those who have not traveled this journey, only see the chaos, and it frightens them. It frightens them because they are afraid that they are going to lose something. And the something that they're afraid of losing are the crumbs from the table that is thrown out to us to make us feel like we belong. It doesn't matter whether you have $10,000 or $10 billion. You are still feasting on crumbs. And your attitude to get you to that place where you have convinced yourself that you are an American, you have no connections to Africa at all. That's self-denial. However, you're not thrown away because those who know who they are continuously put things in the macro because we understand that the energy of a Kabbalah has never ceased. And even in those who swear that they have no connections to Africa, it has not ceased in them either. And continuously putting things in the macro helps them to see that they are more than what they thought they were. And they have been manipulated and duped into believing that there's something different simply because of the money they have, or simply because they have proximity to white people. And that makes them acceptable, not realizing they will never be acceptable. So those who are on this journey to truth are actually the tip of the spear that punctures the hole into this membrane that has blinded them, that has prevented them from seeing what light truly is. And now we see that because of the peace, when we see the structure, the house being structured, what do? We cry out to the universe, and the crying is not a cry of disparity. It's not a cry of fear. It is a cry for insight in this journey of deliverance. And when that happens, we begin to see changes in the earth. And we began to see our consciousness change first. And then we begin to see the consciousness of others changing. And you may say that I don't see that. Well, it's because you're looking with your eyes and you're hearing with your physical ear and not the spiritual ear. You are not you're not perceiving from spirituality. Your perception is controlled by your physical environment. The change that can be seen in the hand of authority, who it is punishing. And the hand of authority is punishing not only immigrants, but is punishing the Europeans who are supporting those immigrants. It is killing people who are crying out on behalf of the immigrant. And those people are beginning to see that they are suffering as we did, but not to the extent that we've suffered. They began to see that the system that has convinced us that a God that they created is the true God is beginning to fall apart. They began to see that Donald Trump's his presence represents Christianity, and if you were to read the letters of Leopold, you would see how Christianity was used to bring us into the household of slavery. Now, getting back to where we are currently. Currently, we are still being shown who we are and our purpose and responsibility for being in this earth. We cannot expect the universe, the cosmic mother, we cannot expect the self-existing one to change what's the consciousness of the earth. That's our responsibility. That's what we have been charged with. But you're being charged with it does not mean that you can pursue it unless you become peace itself. You cannot seek to destroy what is already being destroyed and expect to be at peace. Peace from within is the greatest weapon, because when we talk about being at peace with self, that means you love yourself. Being at peace with humanity, no matter what happens, that means you love humanity. And the greatest weapon against anything that is antithetical to your existence is love itself. And that sounds so corny, especially when you are familiar with the brutality that has been meted out against us. However, when you look at from spirituality, you begin to see that it is real, because the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. The weapons of our warfare are spiritual, and love and kindness is spiritual. A desire for peace with others is spiritual. And you cannot have peace with others if you're not at peace with yourself. So this whole thing about David and Solomon is talking about a transition from seeking to bring peace through violence, or seeking to bring peace through means other than truth. So, and when it speaks about Solomon, it's saying that truth comes when you have died to all the other things and being raised up in peace. Now, when you read the story continuously, you see some other things. You see Solomon praying. You see peace crying out for the self-existing one to bless the house, for lack of a better term, to embrace, to accept who we have become after dying to self. And you see the warnings that are there, and the warnings there to Solomon, the warnings to those of us who are living in peace with self and others. You see the warning signs. You have to remain who you are, because there are distractions that can cause you to get sidetracked. And if you get sidetracked and begin to chase other things, begin to chase the new thing in religion that's being called spirituality, whether it's charismatic ministry or the ministry that you go back to, you're like a dog going back to his vomit. When you can get caught up in that, and if you get caught up in that, it says that people will see the failing of the house and begin to ask, what happened to that house? Look at that house. It used to be a great temple, but look at it now. In other words, you seemed as though you were truly committed to this journey of peace, truth, love, and kindness. But you got sidetracked. And if that happens, you will be seen for what you are. And that is a house that's in disarray, a house that's in shambles. It does not mean you have to stay there. And if you continue reading about the life of peace or the life of Solomon, you will see all the pitfalls that are there that you have to avoid in order for you to remain stable in your desire for peace, in order for you to remain to live above the fray, and to continue to be in this world without being of this world, meaning that the consciousness of this earth in this earthly environment is not your God. Your God is a God from the ancestors, from spirituality. And because of that's how you're being guided. When you bring peace to humanity, this will become their God also. The idea that religion is a deliverer helps us to see the error not only in the ways of others, but in our ways for having endorsed that or embraced that. Ignorantly, of course, but nevertheless, we did embrace it. And I want to take it a step further, but before then, I would like to see if there are questions or comments. Is this resonating? Let me ask you that then.
Yes.
Is it resonating with
Yes.
anyone other than Ron?
Yes.
Yes, it resonates with me. I have a question. I might already know it. When it says "seek my face," now that was had it when Moses was up to the mountain, and God was telling Moses, I don't know. It said it like that, but he couldn't see his face, but he gave him a glimpse behind the mountain, something like that. Just tell me what it really mean about seeking his face, because
Seeking my presence.
most people think when you seek his face you're gonna die, but I think all the stuff that's in you dies.
Charles,
Yes, sir.
seeking the face means to seek the presence, to become aware of the presence of the presence of the self-existent one. When it talks about you cannot look upon his face and live, it is simply saying that once you see the face, the countenance, once you embrace the presence of the one who existed everything that is, once you embrace that energy and see it for what it is, then you die to self. All of those things that you have embraced as being the truth, all those things that you have embraced as being a pathway to heaven, you begin to see that none of that is real. And when you begin to see that none of that is real, that is when you die to self, and then you are resurrected to be who you were created to be. And that resurrection does not happen in an instant. It takes time, especially if you are in the forefront of change for humanity. Does that resonate?
Yes, it has.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Pastor, I have a question following Charles. So is not the face of God or the source, is it not enlightenment?
But the face is speaking to the present, but everything about the self-existent one is enlightenment. Everything. Enlightenment is when you see the flaws in yourself. Enlightenment is also when you realize that you have not forgiven yourself. So enlightenment is not simply an understanding of the wisdom that that we have access to. It's also the understanding of yourself as you are currently, as well as what you are to become. Does that resonate?
That resonates.
Okay.
Yes, sir, deeply. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? So, when we look at this and we begin to see that this whole allegory about David and Solomon are really telling, these allegories are really telling us about ourselves. They are really showing us that simply because you have died to self and embraced peace and you're traveling this journey in search of self, which means in search of truth, there are pitfalls, there are snares that you can get caught up in. And if you allow those snares to ensnare you and hold you there and get you deeper into whatever they are presenting to you, that you can lose sight of who you are, and you can become a worshiper of idolatry. You can fall back into idolatry because I say fall back into it because that's where we were. When we talk about the communion table and the sacredness of it, when we talk about the sacredness of a pulpit, the idea you have to wear a robe, every so often you have to take communion and you celebrate the death and resurrection of someone who never existed. When this whole idea of death and resurrection is speaking to your death and you're being resurrected to the life that you were given when you came into this earth. Is that clear?
Yes.
Thank you. We also see a continuous thing taking place as well. Yesterday, Kathy brought to us John 3:29 and 30, and asked if we could look at that. Well, I looked at it last night, and what I saw there was an example of how we have been sidetracked, an example of how we have been convinced that we ought to follow a Christianity that was designed from its beginning to ensnare, to enslave us. When we look at those scriptures, it's talking about John's relationship to Jesus. And again, this is an allegory. But this allegory is very subtle. And the subtleness of it is difficult to see if you're reading it and seeing these words with your eyes. If you're searching with the eye, then you begin to see something there that has been hidden in plain sight. You begin to see how subtle it was for the manipulators of the Holy Writ to change the direction of our journey, to change what we were shown from the beginning. And this subtleness is seen when John's followers began to question him, and his response to them includes the verse that Kathy mentioned yesterday, the one that talked about when the bridegroom is the one with the bride, and the bridegroom friend hears the voice of the bridegroom and rejoices with the bridegroom. All of that sounds so subtle. However, what's being referenced here is Jesus being the bridegroom and Jesus being the messenger that has brought a message that's being birthed into the earth. Well, this is what happened when the Memphite priesthood challenged the bishops out of Rome, saying that this idea of a savior was spiritual. Deliverance is spiritual. It is not represented by a human. It is not a man. And the bishops of Rome made it gave it personage anyway, even though those who are from the East, who did the writings in the beginning, insisted that that's not true, and that's not what it's supposed to be. And here we are now looking at this man, and it appears as though it is benign, but it is not. This is a removal of femininity from the space that it has always occupied from the beginning. And if you look at that scripture carefully, what you actually see is the bride mentioned only one time. And the rest of the time, it is a dialogue between men about the future of humanity in the earth, when in reality, this is a dialogue that has been concocted by the bishops out of Rome for the express purpose of removing from the scene the influence of femininity and replacing it with masculinity, and having masculinity being in a place where it is being worshipped, where masculinity is being deified, as opposed to seeing it for what it is, where masculinity is being deified and at the same time given a personage that looks like the enslaver, that looks like the oppressor. So what's happening is this is placing control, power, authority in the hands of white men in a very subtle way that keeps us in servitude to something that does not exist. It keeps us looking for our freedom in the by and by. When you die, you will be with Jesus, that kind of thing. So all of these scriptures are intertwined with each other. So when we look at David, as we had talked about him earlier, and look at Solomon, and now looking at this entity called Jesus, what do we see? We see something that we just mentioned, how easy it is to get sidetracked, how easy it is to leave the pathway of truth and get caught up in a pathway that appears to be true, but it is not. And that pathway of which I speak as an example is that pathway that we got caught up in about Jesus, the masculine being who has a European a European face of the enslaver. And we have been taught to embrace that because that is the source of our deliverance. And that is done in order to remove us from having any thoughts of who we really are. Because when we understand who we really are, as they do, then we will see that the only one who can deliver us is us. And our deliverance comes from embracing the reality of who we are, not being ashamed of it, and also embracing the reality that everyone else came from the womb of the Babylon. Questions, comments? May I ask, Kathy, are you on? Does that help you, Kathy?
It really does, because I knew it was more there, Pastor, but I couldn't understand exactly what it was saying. So, and to be honest, I didn't see the bait and switch that was kind of right there before our eyes and how we were being duped. So I'm really glad that you opened that up for us. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone?
I see something that's kind of, that I think is kind of important. The Hebrew word Khalil, K-I-L-A-L, for bride means to make perfect. So I just think that's interesting. Fitting that in. If you're looking at it spiritual, that's all.
So the perfection. Would you make sure your phones are muted, please? So what you're saying in essence is the perfection was left out.
Yeah, exactly.
So what does perfection come from? It appears as though the word is feminine. It would have to be for it to be translated as bride. So what am I saying to you as everyone look for that? What am I saying to you? I'm saying to you that how can you understand without a teacher? I'm saying to you that the subtleness of it is the danger in it. And to see how subtle this is done takes a deep desire for truth and an embracing of the Akashic consciousness as it is. Also, realizing that our trust in what we are shown through our ancestry is a true guide to help us to see through this veil that has been put over our eye so that truth can be revealed to everyone who's seeking truth and be available to those who don't even know that they need truth. Ron, have you?
Well, I started off looking for it in the Aramaic, and that's what I'm trying to find. That was Hebrew that I did.
I read it in the Aramaic.
What did it say?
Bridegroom. I mean bride. Khalil. It was the Aramaic is older than the Hebrew.
Right. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
My point is this: even it meaning what is perfect. What is it? Perfect, Ron?
Perfect. Yes.
Yeah, even it meaning perfect. It simply is saying that it's complete.
Yeah. Okay.
It doesn't mean it's without blemish. It means that it is complete. Now, if you overlook what is complete and you replace it with something that's masculine, then what you have done is switch places with the masculine and the feminine. You have put masculinity on the throne where the cosmic mother sat, and you had taken cosmic mother and put her at the feet of masculinity. And if you look at what Christianity does, if you look at what Islam does, if you look at what Judaism does, it always puts the femininity at the feet of masculinity. The dominant forces are always masculine, and the disrespect is always towards the femininity. Uh, the brutality comes from masculinity, and the nurturing comes from femininity, which is presented as a sign of weakness. So these are the things that we must remain cognizant of in order for us to bring deliverance to this earth. Because again, I want to reiterate Jehovah, the Lord, the source, however you want to state it, the one who's always existed without having been created. Is however you want to state it, is not going to deliver this earth. It is not going to bring deliverance to the consciousness of this earth. The ancestors are not going to bring deliverance to the consciousness of this earth. We are charged with doing that. They will guide us, but they will not bring about the change. They guide us and show us how to change ourselves. And in changing ourselves, we are also being shown how to bring a change to humanity. And now, when we talk about balance and we talk about harmony, love, and kindness, please note this. When Ron said perfection, we understand that it does not mean without flaw. It's talking about being complete. We can bring a completeness of balance, of peace into this earth. And at the same time, we will have people who look like us who are still trying to please white folks. And we will have people who are of European descent still trying to maintain a sense of enslavement for us. All of these distractions will be there, but they will not be dominant. The domination of righteousness is what keeps these infractions to spirituality at bay. Any questions or comments about that?
This is funny. It comes from the Hebrew word kahil 3634 if anybody want to look at, and it does mean complete, be perfect, to finish, to accomplish. But how the church interprets it is she is complete because she is to seek the desires of the bridegroom. If she
Yeah.
fulfills the desires of the bridegroom, that's what makes her perfect. So
So that fits everything we've talked about.
yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question. So if that's the case, what we're talking, I apologize.
Audrey?
Grand Rising, everybody. Um, I was just looking at it, and if you read on down to the very last verse,
Would you mute your phone, please?
if you read the last verse, it seems to say that is the completeness. When it talks about believing in the Son,
Yeah.
and if you don't believe in the Son, then you the wrath of God is on you.
Yes.
So they bring about this false completeness in that belief. So yeah, that's like the coup de grace, as they say, of creating a false narrative. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyway, that's all.
But you know, we're taught that our completeness is in Jesus. Thank you, Audrey. Evelyn?
I was thinking while you were talking. So when we get married, or when mankind get married, shouldn't the bridegroom be coming to the bride instead of the bride coming to the bridegroom?
I don't want to get into the nuances of marriage at this point because that's a lesson within itself. And the reason I say that is not to dodge the question, but to help us to understand that marriage is so different than anything that we have been taught in the past.
But I'm thinking about the feminine. I'm sorry for interrupting. Go ahead. It's just I see
so
a lot there. That's why.
I don't want to get into the nuances of coming to the or who comes to whom, because if we get into the nuances of who comes to whom, then it's going to lead to other questions about marriage itself, and then we're going to get into when the water was changed into wine, whose marriage was it, and who came to whom, that kind of thing. Who is betrothed to whom? Is the woman betrothed to the male, or is the male betrothed to the woman? Right now, I really would rather stay where we are, looking at this with a foundation of understanding the allegory of David and Solomon, and seeing how it was used and morphed into something that was totally different than what was intended from the writings about David and Solomon. Can you see what I'm trying to say, Evan?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I'm looking at the marriage from a spiritual standpoint. And I know what you're talking about as far as you don't want to get in that area, but that's not what I was talking about. It is just the spiritual aspect of the masculine coming to the feminine. But anyway, I understand what you're saying, but it's just a thought. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Masculine femininity is always together. So, but anyway, I really we can talk about that, because to talk about the spiritual is going to lead us to talk about what happens in this life as well, because the church has told us what marriage is and who comes to whom, and spirituality says something different, and that's what I'm talking about. Thank you, Evelyn, for bringing that up, and we will indeed speak to that. Are there any other questions or comments? If there are no more questions or comments, then without questions based on what we have spoken to, I'm done. If there are no questions or comments, there's no point in really belaboring what we've already talked about, because I think that it is clear what we talked about. Now, I will take 5 minutes or more to speak to this, and that is, it is impossible to talk about what marriage looks like spiritually without comparing it to what we have been taught marriage is. When we talk about masculinity and femininity, we are not talking about a marriage at all. Masculinity and femininity simply exist. There is no marriage after in the afterlife, meaning out of these bodies, there is no such thing as marriage. Marriage is something that was introduced from the mindset of the European, and it is based upon the European concept of male controlling female. So I guess the simple response about marriage itself is to look at the difference between yada, which means to know, which speaks to intimacy, which speaks to intercourse. Spiritual intercourse is a constant thing, and spiritual intercourse does not look at the physical characteristics of a male or female. The physical characteristics of male and female are related. And when we talk about marriage in relationship to that, looks totally different than what we talk about with spiritual intimacy. And if you think about this whole concept of marriage in this world, this physical marriage, the whole controversy over marriage, whether it's two men, two women, or a woman and a man, or whatever, the whole controversy of this did not come from spirituality at all. It comes from Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. It has nothing to do with spirituality at all. So the idea of marriage is non-existent in spirituality. I hope that helps some, Evelyn.
It does. Thank you. It resonates.
Okay.
I think well, you've heard me say this before. Everything we've learned that was called truth, we're understanding now was not truth. And marriage is a part of that. I think the understanding of intimacy, what that really means, and looking at relationships, whether or not it be a couple who are married or just two people who have a deep friendship. I think it gives us a glimpse of what this thing is, that, real intimacy. And then when we come together as two people come together under their own, desires to be together, we understand marriage far better than any ceremony could bring us or introduce us, because that's all about legality. It has nothing to do really with love or intimacy of any kind.
And another part of that is this. This society tells you who you love. The heart can't help who the heart loves. And we got caught up in this false sense of what love is, or this false sense of what intimacy is, or this false sense of a relationship, period. And now we confused as hell about how to navigate it. When if we look at it from a spiritual perspective, then we begin to see that the navigation of this earth comes from the spiritual if you desire to be who you were created to be. And the navigating of it does not look like anything that the church has given us. Does not look like anything that religion has given us. Nothing whatsoever. So that's the reason I say that this whole gamut of understanding marriage in this society, in this earth, is a lesson unto itself, and it is totally different than anything that's spiritual. There are spiritual connections between people who does not have a marriage license, let me put it that way, between them. And that's one thing that we don't pay any attention to. And I've said this for years, and I will say it again. A marriage license just says that you go get their Social Security and their belongings. A marriage license has nothing to do with your heart. Matter of fact, there was no such thing as a license or title or deed until Europeans came on the scene. There were no documents like that at all. And now we are so ingrained in that, we can't imagine a world without it. I'm done.
Okay. Anybody? Question, comment? Okay. Well, hope it resonated with you, and look forward to tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll resume tomorrow at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
See you later.
Thank you.